AITA for secretly moving out when my wife moved her cousin into our home. My name is Nate Bennett, 34 years old. I sell seafood at a semi-permanent stand on the North Beach Boardwalk in Corpus Christi, Texas, between the main beach and the harbor entrance. Ceviche, spicy marinated seafood, shrimp cocktails, marlin on crispy corn tortillas. It is not glamorous, but it gives me enough to live comfortably. On good weekends, I make between $1,000 and $1,600. On bad ones, $600. On average, it is enough for rent, supplies, truck insurance, and even to save a little at the credit union, which is where I have my account because dealing with big banks is a hassle. Vanessa, Van, as I called her, is 31 years old. She worked part-time at a beauty salon in the downtown neighborhood doing nails and hair straightening. I say worked because when everything happened, she had already gone 2 months without going. According to her, the owner owed her money. According to the owner, who is a close friend of my Aunt Helen, Ben stopped showing up and never answered the messages. We had been together for 5 years, 3 living in the same place. An apartment near North Beach that I found on Craigslist, 2 bedrooms, 1 full bathroom. Open kitchen, a small balcony that overlooked a parking lot, but which caught a good breeze in the afternoons. The rent was $2,000 a month. I paid $1,200, she $800. The lease was in both our names. The thing with Van is that she did not argue, she declared. It was always like that, since we were dating. At first it seemed like character. Confidence to me. Over time I understood that it was something else. The absolute inability to consider that the other person also has an opinion. If she wanted to go to dinner at such and such a place, we went. If she decided that Saturday was for visiting her mom in League City, well, we went to League City. She did not ask, she informed, and for years I let it pass because fighting with Van was exhausting. She did not yell, which was worse. She would stay quiet for 3 or 4 days. She slept with her back to me. She answered with monosyllables until I ended up apologizing for something I had not even done. Her cousin is named Eddie, 36 years old, tall, skinny, with a messy beard and a local baseball cap that he did not take off even to sleep. Eddie worked for a while at a shrimp packing plant in the industrial area by the port, but according to Van, he was let go unjustly. According to my buddy Frankie, who knows people there, he was let go for showing up late 3 Mondays in a row after heavy weekends. After that, Eddie went through a streak of odd jobs: a loader at the wholesale market, a delivery guy for a flatbread shop, a helper at a construction site in the Strand Historic District. Nothing lasted more than a month. There was always an excuse. The boss was bad, the salary was not enough, the schedule was not convenient. The family called him the misunderstood one, with a tone that oscillated between pity and exhaustion. It all started on a Thursday in July. Corpus Christi in July is a humid oven. You go out to the street, and the air hits your face like a hot, wet towel. I had sold well that week. It was the peak tourism season, families from Houston and Dallas coming down to the coast. I got home at about 9 at night, tired but happy. I smelled of lemon and chili because the scent of the stand had permeated me. Van was sitting in the living room with her cell phone in her hand, and that posture I already knew. Straight back, chin up, legs crossed. The posture of I already made a decision, and I am going to inform you. I need to tell you something, she said without looking up from the phone. I sat on the couch across from her. I thought it was something about money, or her mom, or the salon. Eddie is going to stay here for a while. She did not say, "What do you think?" She did not say, "Does that seem fine to you?" No, she said, "I need to ask you a huge favor." She said, "He is going to stay here," like someone saying, "Tomorrow it is going to rain." I asked her since when. She told me he already knew, that she had said yes to him that same afternoon, that he would come by for his things on Saturday. 2 days. I waited for her to look me in the eyes. She took a while. When she finally did, I asked her why she had not consulted me. "Because you were going to say no," she answered. "And it is not fair. He is my family." That phrase fell on me like ice water in the middle of July. Not because of what it said, but because of what it revealed. She knew I did not agree, and that is why she did not ask. The consultation was not omitted by carelessness, it was avoided by strategy. Then came the part one already knew by heart, the speech about how family helps each other. How Eddie was out on the street, how I had to be more empathetic, how the extra room was empty anyway. The extra room, the one I used to store my coolers, my work knives, my packaging bags. The one that had my desk with the laptop where I kept the accounts for the stand, that extra room. I did not raise my voice. I did not throw anything. I did not leave slamming the door. I only said one thing. If Eddie moves in on Saturday, I move out on Friday. She laughed like that, blowing air through her nose. Like when a kid says they are going to run away from home. Oh, Nate, do not be ridiculous. It is temporary. I did not answer her. I got up, took a shower, went to bed. She came to the bedroom about 20 minutes later and spoke to me from the door. Are you going to sleep like this, mad? I am not mad. I told her, looking at the ceiling. I am making a decision, just like you. On Friday at 7 in the morning, before going to the stand, I called Mr. Ron Hayes, the landlord. A 70-something-year-old man who has 4 properties in Corpus Christi and who collects the rent in person every first of the month with a little notebook where he writes everything down. I explained that I wanted to know how it worked to remove my name from the lease. He told me he needed the signature of both of us and that the person who stayed had to prove they could pay a loan. I asked him if a third party could move in without authorization. He stayed quiet for a moment and then said, "Look, young man. The rule here is simple. The lease says 2 people. If you bring in a third without telling me, I have the right to review the agreement." Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. See you later. That same Friday, after closing the stand at 5 in the afternoon, I went to the Walmart neighborhood market on the boulevard near North Beach and bought 3 rolls of packing tape and a pack of large black trash bags. I stopped by Frankie's house to borrow his 2012 Ford F-150 pickup truck, the one he uses to take materials to construction sites. He lent me the keys without asking much. He just said, "Everything okay, buddy?" "Everything is fine," I told him. "I am just moving." At 8 at night, I started packing. Ben was not there. She had gone to her mom's house in League City to arrange I do not know what for Saturday, probably to coordinate Eddie's arrival. That gave me 3 hours of absolute silence. I packed methodically, as if I were organizing a large order at the stand. First, the stuff from the extra room. Coolers, knives, cutting boards, laptop, the folders with invoices. Then my clothes, which were not many. Then the dishes that were mine, the blender I bought at Walmart on 12 months credit. The set of cast iron pans my grandma Connie gave me, the large griddle. Then the living room TV that I bought during the Black Friday sale last year at Walmart, the tower fan, the 2 high bar stools. At 11 at night, the Ford was full. The apartment looked weird, not completely empty, but stripped bare. Like a person after a long fever, recognizable, but skinnier. Van arrived at 11:30. Came in without turning on the hallway light, and when she got to the living room, she stopped in her tracks. It took her a moment to register what she was seeing, or rather what she was not seeing. "What did you do?" she said. "What I said I would do." She walked over to the space where the TV was. She ran her hand along the wall, as if the screen was going to materialize. "You took the television. It is mine. And the blender too. And the stools." "Yes." She sat on the couch. The only large piece of furniture left, and that was hers, an inheritance from an aunt. I heard her breathing heavily. She was not crying. She was processing. "Nate, this is an exaggeration." I did not respond. I was sealing the last box with packing tape, the one with the knives from the stand. Then she changed her tone. "You are taking revenge because of Eddie." "I am not taking revenge. I am leaving." "You decided who lives here." "I decided I do not want to be a part of that." Maybe 2 minutes of silence passed. 2 minutes that felt like an hour. The sound of the Gulf came through the balcony window. That constant murmur that in Corpus Christi becomes part of the air and that you stop hearing until everything else goes quiet. "And the lease?" she asked. "Tomorrow I am talking to Mr. Hayes to take my name off." She got up from the couch. "You cannot leave me with all the rent." "I am not leaving you with anything. I am leaving you with the decision you made. You wanted Eddie here? Here you will have him, just without me." I walked out with the last box. The apartment door closed by itself with that soft click of cheap locks. I slept that night at Frankie's house on an inflatable mattress that his wife, Nora, lent me, along with a blanket that smelled of fabric softener. I fell asleep in 3 minutes. I did not dream about anything. On Saturday at 10 in the morning, Eddie moved in. He arrived in an Uber with a suitcase and 2 plastic bags from H-E-B. Frankie told me this. Who passed by to drop some things off at a nearby construction site and saw the movement. He says Van welcomed him smiling, that she showed him the room, that music could be heard from outside. At 11 I called Mr. Ron Hayes. I explained that I had left, that I wanted to formalize the exit and that there was a third person living in the apartment without prior authorization. Mr. Hayes did not say much, just let me check it and I will call you. He called me at 3 in the afternoon. Serious tone. Young man. I went to the apartment. There is a guy who is not on the lease. I informed the young lady that she has 3 days to regularize the situation or we initiate a lease review. 3 days. At 4 in the afternoon, Van's calls began. 6 and 20 minutes. I did not answer any. Then the messages. First the rational ones. Nate, we need to talk about the lease. Then the accusatory ones. You are doing this on purpose to screw me. Then the dramatic ones. I cannot believe you are doing this to me after 5 years. I answered her a single message at 7 at night. I am willing to sign the lease release when you prove that you can cover the rent alone or with a guarantor approved by Mr. Hayes. Meanwhile, my name is still there and I do not authorize Eddie as an occupant. She blocked me. Perfect. The following week was one of the calmest I remember. I settled into a small room rented by Millie Thompson, a neighbor of Frankie's, on a street in the South Side neighborhood. It did not have an ocean view or a balcony, but it had something I had not felt in years. Real silence. The kind of silence where no one informs you of decisions they already made for you. I kept selling seafood. The season remained good. Tourists from Texas came down hungry and eager to spend. I set up a seafood tower special for 4 people at $50 and it sold itself. The stand never closed. My life continued exactly where I left it, minus the apartment. The first mornings were strange. I woke up at 4:30, as always, to go to the fish market to buy fresh shrimp. But when I opened my eyes, it took me a second to get my bearings. Millie Thompson's walls were a different color. A pale yellow with damp stains near the ceiling that looked like maps of invented countries. The bathroom was on the other side. The light came in differently, but after the second coffee. Prepared in a pot because I still had not bought a coffee maker. The orientation returned, and with it a feeling that at first I confused with sadness, but that was relief. A slow relief that settled in layers. Like when you take your shoes off after a 14-hour shift and you do not realize how much your feet hurt until they stop hurting. Through Frankie, I kept finding out what was happening near North Beach. Eddie, according to the neighbors in the building, did not take long to get comfortable. He invited friends over. He played loud music on weekends, reggaeton and regional Mexican bands until 3 in the morning. With the windows open because he did not know how to set the AC unit properly, just the natural air. He smoked on the balcony, and the butts fell to the parking lot below right on the hood of a white Honda Civic that belonged to a retired teacher from the second floor. The teacher was the first to complain. Then it was the neighbor from the adjoining apartment. A nurse at the local hospital who worked the night shift and needed to sleep during the day. Then it was the lady downstairs who found a still-lit cigarette, but on her clothesline. The building's administrator, a retired accountant named Mr. Phil Martin, who took his position with an almost religious seriousness, started documenting everything. He took photos, noted down dates and times, and kept the receipts of the complaints in a folder with a label that said apartment 4B in red letters. The first formal complaint reached Mr. Hayes on Tuesday, the second on Thursday. By Friday, Mr. Hayes had sent a certified letter to the apartment. Frankie described it to me as a document with stamps, a letterhead, and a tone that left no room for interpretation. Van tried to contact me through her mom. Grace Morales called me one Sunday morning while I was preparing the spicy marinated seafood for the workday. Soft tone, almost maternal. My son, do you not think it has been enough already? Van is suffering a lot. I answered her respectfully, because Grace Morales always treated me well. I told her I was not punishing anyone, that I had simply removed myself from a situation I did not accept, and that the lease was a legal matter, not an emotional one. She sighed. It is just that Eddie has nowhere to go. That is not my problem, Grace. With all due respect. She hung up without saying goodbye. I did not get offended. I understood that for her, family came first, but I was not her family. I was the guy who paid most of the rent and who suddenly stopped doing it. The first month of rent without me arrived like the first northern wind of the year in Corpus Christi arrives, announced, but equally devastating. Van earned, when she earned, around $1,200 a month doing nails. The rent alone was $2,000 plus electricity, water, gas, internet. Eddie, according to Frankie's reports, contributed with exactly nothing. Well, yes, he contributed dirty dishes, loud friends, and a growing collection of empty large beer bottles on the balcony. The rent was 4 days late that month. Under the original lease, that was a minor offense. Under the magnifying glass they were under because of the complaints and the unauthorized occupant, it was another mark on Mr. Hayes's record. Van unblocked me. She sent me a long message at 2 in the morning. I saw it when I woke up at 5 to go to the fish market. It was a mix of complaint, justification, and something that almost seemed like an apology, but fell short of being one. It said that I had left her in an impossible position, that Eddie was looking for a job, that she was going back to the salon, that if I could at least pay half the rent this month while she stabilized. I did not reply. The following week, Eddie got a temporary job unloading trucks at H-E-B in the early mornings. They paid $180 a shift. He lasted 11 days. He quit because, according to what he told Van, it was affecting his back. Frankie found out through another loader who worked there that Eddie simply stopped showing up. Mr. Hayes scheduled a formal meeting with Van. The meeting was on a Tuesday at 10 in the morning at Mr. Hayes's office, which is actually his living room in the downtown neighborhood, with a dark wooden desk, a squeaky ceiling fan, and a picture of a coastal scene on the wall. Frankie told me the details because his wife, Nora, is Mr. Hayes's niece. That is how Corpus Christi works. Everyone is connected by family, friendships, or favors. Mr. Hayes presented the situation to her. 2 documented late payments, 3 complaints from neighbors, an unauthorized occupant who remained on the property after the 3-day deadline. He offered her 2 options: fully regularize the situation, include Eddie on the lease, prove solvency, or sign a voluntary termination with 30 days to vacate. Van chose the first option, but to include Eddie she needed him to present proof of income, valid identification, and a background check. Eddie did not have proof of income because he had no income. His ID was expired and the check showed a pending debt with a payday loan company like the ones that operate around the markets. Mr. Hayes did not approve the inclusion. 2 weeks later, the second rent cycle arrived. This time it was not 4 days late, it was 8. Mr. Hayes sent a second formal notice. The letter included a clause that I did not know about, but that is apparently standard in rental leases here. 3 late payments in a period of 6 months constitute grounds for unilateral termination by the landlord. They had 2. The relationship between Van and Eddie started to crack, where things always crack: money. She expected gratitude and cooperation. He expected shelter without conditions. Neither of them was prepared for the reality of sharing a space with real financial obligations. Eddie started complaining that Van was controlling, that she nagged him about everything, that she did not let him live. The irony reached me through Frankie with a cold beer in his hand one afternoon on his patio. "Buddy, Eddie is telling people that your ex is unbearable to live with. Weren't you the one who used to say the same thing?" I laughed for the first time in weeks. A real laugh from the stomach that tasted like lemon and salt. The 3rd month was the definitive one. The rent was late again. Mr. Hayes did not send a letter. He showed up personally. Frankie says he knocked on the door at 9 in the morning on a Monday, and that Eddie opened it in his underwear with a hangover face. Mr. Hayes told him he needed to speak with the leaseholder. Eddie told him Van was not there. Mr. Hayes left him a sealed envelope. The envelope contained the termination notice: 30 days to vacate. Van called me that night. I did not have her blocked anymore. I had simply stopped reaching out to her. I answered because something in the ring of the phone at that hour told me it was different. Her voice was tired, not furious, not manipulative, not strategic, just worn out. She told me they had given her 30 days, that she did not know where to go, that Eddie had already told her he was going to look for another option. That her mom did not have space in League City because Van's sister already lived there with her 2 kids. I listened to everything without interrupting. When she finished, I asked her a single question. At any point, since you decided to bring Eddie in without consulting me, did you think this could happen? She went quiet. 5 seconds. 10. The sound of the gulf seeped through her side of the line. That murmur that I no longer heard from my room in the south side. No, she said. I thought you were going to complain for a couple of days, and then you would get over it. There it was, the unfiltered truth. She never believed I was capable of leaving. She bet on my habit of giving in and lost. Not against me, against reality, against Mr. Hayes, against the rent receipts. Against the rules that exist precisely because people do not always agree. I hung up without saying anything else. Not out of cruelty, because there was nothing useful to add. Eddie left first. He moved in with a friend in the West Side neighborhood, as I learned later. The same dynamic as always. Arrive, get comfortable, wear out the welcome, look for the next couch. Van vacated the apartment 3 days before the deadline. She lost half the deposit due to the condition of the property, marks on the walls. A cigarette stain on the ceiling of the extra room, a bathroom faucet that someone forced. She went to live with a co-worker from the salon in a shared room in a downtown apartment. She paid $700 a month. She went back to work doing nails, this time on her own. Attending to clients at their homes with a briefcase of nail polishes she carried in her car. I did not see her for months. One morning in November, just when the high seafood season starts to slow down and the air in Corpus Christi becomes almost cool, I ran into her at the Walmart on the boulevard near North Beach. She was walking out with a bag. I was walking in to buy lemons for the stand. We looked at each other a second too long. She spoke first. You look good. It was not a romantic compliment. It was an observation, and it was probably true. I had lost weight without trying. I slept better, ate on a schedule. I did not carry that permanent tension in my shoulders that comes from living with someone who keeps you in alert mode. You too, I told her. And it was true. She shifted the bag on her arm. Are you still at the stand? Yes, I am still there. She nodded. I am doing nails on my own. I am doing well. That is good. Silence. The kind of silence that has weight, that takes up space. That smells like the 2 versions of the story colliding in a supermarket aisle. Nate, I am not going to ask you to get back together. But I need you to know that I understood what I did. I did not expect that. I did not know what to answer, so I did not answer anything. She did not wait for an answer either. She shifted the bag to her other arm, turned around, and walked toward the parking lot. I stood there at the entrance of the Walmart with one hand on the shopping cart and the other hanging, feeling the warm November air in Corpus Christi. That air that smells of sea and earth at the same time. And I thought that maybe that was the most honest thing she had said to me in 5 years. Now I live in Millie Thompson's apartment. It is no longer temporary. I renewed the lease for a year. I bought a new TV at Walmart on 18 months credit. I have my griddle, my pans, my laptop on a desk I put together with pine boards and cinder blocks. On Friday nights, I cook for Frankie and Nora, who come over with their kids. I make a spicy marinated seafood dish with hot peppers that Nora says makes you cry. And I do not know if it is a compliment or a complaint. Last Saturday, I took Frankie's kids to the Texas State Aquarium and then to eat mango snow cones on the boardwalk. The little kids were running among the sculptures while the sun set over the bay and the sky turned. That dirty orange color that only Corpus Christi has in the rainy season. It was a good day, one of those that do not need explanation or justification. I have not met anyone new. I am in no rush. What I do have is something I did not know I was missing. The certainty that my space is mine and that no one is going to walk through that door to inform me of a decision they already made without me. Eddie, according to Frankie's last report, is between jobs again. Some construction work around the outskirts. Van is still doing nails. Mr. Hayes rented the apartment near North Beach to a young couple from Houston who pay on time and who, according to Mr. Phil Martin, you cannot even hear. Life went on. It always goes on. The difference is who is directing it. I'm going to step out of the story for a moment to say something that took me months to process. Van is not a bad person. I truly believe that. She is someone who grew up in a family where blood loyalty is law and where saying no to a relative feels like treason. When she brought Eddie in without consulting me. In her head, she was not disrespecting me. She was fulfilling what she understands as a family obligation. The problem is that she fulfilled that obligation with my space, with my money, and with my name on a lease. Eddie, for his part, is not the soap opera villain that maybe some are imagining. He is a guy who never learned to support himself, and who found a system of people who always rescue him right before he hits rock bottom. As long as someone picks him up, he has no reason to change. Other people's comfort becomes his survival strategy. What made me leave was not Eddie's presence, it was the absence of my voice. When someone tells you, this is not up for discussion about a space you share, they are telling you something deeper. Your opinion does not carry enough weight to stop what I have already decided. And faced with that, to stay is to accept those conditions. Leaving is not revenge, it is consistency. Should I have fought more? Should I have given an ultimatum before packing? Was there a middle ground that I did not see out of pride? I do not know. Honestly, I do not know. What I do know is that today I eat dinner in peace and no one notifies me of surprises with a suitcase. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.